Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. With us now is Captain David Christian, one of America's most decorated veterans of any war. His service in Vietnam earned him 7 Purple Hearts, the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, a Bronze Star, the Air Medal, the Combat Infantryman's Badge, and 2 Vietnamese Crosses of Gallantry. Mr. Christian is a former primary candidate for the U.S. Senate, a Ronald Reagan conservative, and a former military analyst for Fox News. And David, welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Kathleen.
Well, President Obama says he's considering a strike on Syria as his administration claims Bashar al-Assad has used chemical weapons on his own people. How do you view the president's approach to Syria and the possibility of a military strike there?
Well, I look at the history where we've intervened in North Africa, and we can quickly go through Egypt and Tunisia and every place where we've encouraged an uprising. We've taken people that we've created bridges with and in diplomacy and allies with. Libya even, for example. Started building ties with Libya, put a consulate there, State Department workings there, and it's all gone in a breadbasket to a you-know-where. Unfortunately, everybody we backed in North Africa are now fighting each other, and they don't like the United States of America. Who are we really backing in Syria? And the weapons of mass destruction in Syria, did they come from Iraq? When we first went into Iraq to kill Saddam Hussein and go after different individuals there. There's too many questions that are out there, and I'm saying that you got to know where you've been before you know where you're going. And right now, my military experience, my experience in Washington, D.C. is saying push the caution button, the pause button. Let us not jump into a war when we can't answer the mothers and fathers from other recent conflicts that have lost children. We have to answer to them before we send their children off to another conflict.
There's growing pressure from the international community for the U.S. to produce evidence that the Assad regime was behind the chemical attacks. Last night, the president declared unequivocally on TV that the Syrian government was responsible. However, multiple U.S. officials are using the phrase "not a slam dunk" to describe the intelligence picture. Was the Obama administration too quick to threaten military action here, and could this backfire?
Well, in this situation now President Obama a year ago drew a line in the sand, said if they cross this line in the sand. Well, people have been running around in the Mideast, across the line in the sand. In Syria, they've run across the line in the sand. And now all of a sudden, the weapons of mass destruction supposedly gives us a green light. And I agree with you in the sense that, where did these weapons of mass destruction come from in terms of chemical warfare? I've seen villages where chemical warfare has taken out everybody from small children to goats, to dogs, to cats, to mothers and fathers. You have to be extremely careful. Was it Assad who has done this? Was it the president of Syria? And before we commit troops, do we know what the outcome is going to be? To listen to Colin Powell, before we get into a conflict, know what's going to be the end result of that conflict. Are we going to have another mass hysteria? And it's getting closer and closer. We're surrounding Israel, our one ally, which may draw us into a world war situation. So let us be extremely cautious.
The White House has talked about the moral justification for a strike, but is there a legal justification for a strike?
If there is a legal justification, Kathleen, I think this is a real justification for us to go to the United Nations and ask the United Nations. The United Nations is saying to us, please be cautious. Give us 4 more days. I'd say take 2 more weeks before you take my son, before you take my daughter. Take the time. Let us be cautious in what we're doing here, because once you fire the bullet, you cannot bring it back. And it's just like the chemical warfare situation. We do not have the answers on the situation. Let us get the answers. I know Senator Kerry. I've ridden the train back and forth to Washington with Senator Biden. I've listened to different people espouse the way they want to do certain things recently on the media, and I'm saying, I'm seeing that there's something missing, and that is a degree of caution, because a degree of caution of the sons and daughters of America. And are we not creating another situation that's a big question mark? Russia has said they're going to stand by Syria. Now, yes, you have Turkey, and yes, you have other people forming the coalition, but what about Russia? Why don't we go to the United Nations and get China and Russia to weigh in on this?
Mr. Christian, in an interview this week, Bashar al-Assad compared any strike on Syria to another Vietnam. Are there any parallels that you see here, and could Syria become another Vietnam for the U.S.?
I don't see it being a Vietnam, overall. I mean, there's some parallels to every war. You can draw parallels. There's going to be people for and against. There's going to put people out in the street. There's going to be people that hate war, and there's going to be people that want to see justice throughout the world. But let us have answers. Before, we have in our country, we have the Constitution, we have due process, we have the 4th, 5th, 14th Amendment. We want to establish that we're giving people, the benefit of the doubt, that we really want to convict and put in jail or execute someone that has really done wrong. Mm-hmm. Do we really have the right people on the firing line in Syria? And are we ready to pull that trigger? And I'm saying we don't right now.
Now, you have been a champion of U.S. veterans for many, many years. More than 26,000 veterans have signed on to a petition calling for President Obama to fire Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric Shinseki amidst a very lengthy backlog of veterans awaiting action on their disability claims. How do you view this?
Well, there's almost 30 million veterans in the United States of America. 26,000 is a large number, but in comparison to all the veterans, it's a small number. And I'm telling you, as a person who's experienced the bureaucracy of the VA, as recently, within the last couple of weeks, I think that out of all the agencies, one of the people that is trying very hard is Secretary Shinseki. Unfortunately, when you have such a backlog of people, you have more claims here. 40% of the veterans returning from the Mideast are filing claims, where 4% of the people coming from Vietnam filed claims. 2% of the people from Korea and World War II filed claims. So, of course, you're going to have an extensive backlog. My backlog, in and of itself, was just resolved on my own personal case within the last week. So I'm telling you, it takes a long time. I think they're working overtime. I've walked through the halls of the VA. I've seen doctors. They're working 7 days a week. I've seen lawyers. I've seen people that are adjudicating claims, and they're working as hard as they can. I think we're going to start getting too many chefs in there, and it's going to create another problem sooner or later. So I don't know if we should point the blame at one individual person. I don't think that's the way to do it. I've seen them ask for past VA administrators, Max Cleland's resignation. I've seen them ask for Bob Nimmo's resignation. As you go through the years, there always are people going to ask. You can't please everybody, but they are working very, very diligently, I'll tell you that.
On a separate topic, you recently lent your support to master sculptor Greg Mara, who donated a larger-than-life bronze statue of Chris Kyle to the state of Texas. Now he's preparing to start work on a bronze sculpture designed to honor the victims of Benghazi. Tell us why you're throwing your support behind his latest project.
Well, my political support, my name, I feel artwork is a way to send a message to the community. And unfortunately, most of the artwork in America has been hijacked by the far left, and it has to come back to the center. When you look at a piece of artwork, your mind shouldn't have to, and a little boy or a little girl shouldn't have to say, "What is that, Mommy? What is that, Daddy?" And they're saying, well, it's something abstract and it means A, B, and C. You should be able to look at the artwork and capture in that artwork the spirit, the pain and suffering of someone sacrificing on the battlefield, someone dying. The reason Mr. Mara is focusing in on Benghazi right now, and he has with the Navy SEALs, is he can capture, he's got magical hands, and he can capture that spirit. And I think Benghazi is very, very significant. Before we enter into Syria, can we not answer the questions of Benghazi? What about the mothers and fathers and the loved ones that lost people in Benghazi? There's an ambassador, a former ambassador. There's questions unanswered. And it comes up as being trite and trivia and being mundane and redundant by the president himself when he says, oh, it's a Benghazi question again. Well, if it's my son who's died, my son who happened to bleed to death and was massacred and assassinated there, and we had people standing down because of a presidential order, I think it deserves an answer before you commit more sons and more daughters to Syria.
And if folks want to learn more about this project, or if they want to help in getting this project completed, where can they go?
You can go to right online, Greg Mara. You can see Greg Mara, sculpture, and you'll see on Google, just Google Greg Mara's sculpture. You'll see many, many things, all of his projects there. I'm asking that Greg Mara petition the city of Washington, D.C. to put the sculpture of Benghazi right in the park across from the White House, so when President Obama wakes up every morning, he realizes he's pulling up his pants, that there's questions unanswered out there. Be a man and answer these questions for everybody's son and daughter, and for the sake of America and for the future of America. Again, I say we have to know where we've gone, we have to know where we've been before we know where we're going. And we don't know where we've been in Benghazi. Greg Mara is capturing the essence of the sacrifices of those that died in Benghazi. And it's something essential for the United States of America. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bleep or a footnote on a page, and the kids are going to go through it as they're going through junior high and high school and maybe never know. And we will get into another Vietnam then. We will get into other situations because we're not studying our history.
All right, David Christian, thanks so much for being with us today, and thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you, Kathleen.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.